Hi, I'm Steve Pond. We're here at TheWrap studio at the Sundance Film Festival with Horse Girl. Director Jeff Baena, star Alison Brie, but you co-wrote it together, right?
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about this. I mean, this is a fascinating, weird, really fun movie it starts out and you think it's a character study of this young woman who's got problems, and then it turns into so much more than that. How did the idea come about, and how did you guys start working on it?
Well, I guess it was the culmination of a couple ideas that sprouted from long hikes that Baena and I take together. We've known each other for a while. This is our third film together, and we live very close to one another, so we often will take like 2.5-hour hikes together. And the first idea that came up was Jeff saying that I should play a horse girl, which is something that I've heard before. We talked a lot about that. And I think through that conversation, I felt encouraged enough to bring up an idea that I had been kicking around to talk to Jeff about, and then we sort of merged them into the same idea, and it cracked everything wide open.
Now, we should clarify, have you ever been a real horse girl?
I am not now, nor have I ever been a real horse girl, but I really loved working with the horse in this movie. So I'm converted. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could be converted. I haven't actually started riding horses, if I'm being totally honest.
So, Jeff, why did you picture Alison as a horse girl, and what was your path into this?
I don't think it was as much picturing her as a horse girl as I was more interested in seeing her play a horse girl. Mm-hmm. I was sort of fascinated by that archetype, and I think there was a lot to mine there, not just on the surface, but some deeper stuff, and sort of dealing with like the social isolation, and there's sort of individuality, and sort of being outside of the regular social milieu that you find in high schools and junior high schools. I was always fascinated by that, and sort of seeing where that could lead, and what that kind of could be for a character study.
Mm-hmm. So I know your films are often improvised. I mean, how much of this was improvisation, and how much of it was scripted ahead of time?
Almost all of it was improvised, except for the TV show within the movie, Purgatory, which was completely scripted, but everything else was improvised.
So how does that work for the actors on the set?
Well, it's certainly different for me this time around, having written it together. And basically, we created a very detailed 35-page outline, and the scenes are thorough. They talk about what the characters come in and are talking about, and certainly with this movie, because it's pretty complex, there are like major objectives that people have to get across in scenes. So it's pretty specific. And then we start out shooting a wide shot, and we sort of workshop the dialogue in the first few takes, and then we would lock it in and then shoot it like any scripted film. So
it's not like it's like some mystery that we're like going out and exploring. We know what we want. Mm-hmm. It's more a method of getting the dialogue to sound fresh and natural, and as if it's coming from the real person as opposed to some performance.
And having the people be in the moment, really connecting,
and listening.
But this was great. It was like we were at a great advantage having written it together, and me playing the central character, that I knew the whole story, and we could be there together kind of checking in to make sure everything was going the right direction.
We're following the story that we think is fairly realistic, and at a certain point, it's like we have to either accept that things are really getting crazy in this girl's life, or we're getting more in her head than we are outside her and observing her.
Yeah, I mean, it's a subjective film. It's it's a character study, so it's mainly from her specific perspective. But it's all real. It's all what she's experiencing.
I think we always designed it to have the audience really be going for the ride with Sarah, and enabling them to have a great deal of empathy for her, because they themselves don't know what's real and what isn't real. They can really feel like they're in her head rather than standing back and watching and judging what she's going through.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, it's a wonderful film, and congratulations and thanks very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.